Good morning. And welcome to Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Melissa Marote, and my pronouns are she and her, and we are so happy to have you here. Thank you for silencing your phones and for wearing a mask. Please sign our online guest book or the guest book here to learn more about upcoming events. You'll probably see that on the back of the order of service. There's lots of ways to get involved here. And also, please, if you can, stay for our potluck that we have after service today. So we'll have like a little coffee hour and some snacks and food. So please stay to share with that. And there's also a virtual coffee hour online. If you would like to share a joy or a concern with the congregation later in the service, please write it in the virtual book of life, or you can also put it in the physical book of life behind our piano over there. And turning your attention to the back of the order of service, there are still some auction items that are available. These were fundraiser auction items. One is happening later today, watching Groundhog Day. It's going to start at 6:30. That's a little donation. It's happening tonight. You can see me or Leslie Reuter for more information. And also on February 15th, there's going to be a Scrabble and Sundays game that should be a lot of fun if you're interested in signing up for that. It'll be here in the pavilion behind those doors where we're going to have our potluck. Also, thank you all for continuing to bring your non-perishable food items for the West Valley Food Pantry. They can always use our donations, and we thank you for your generosity. I want to begin by acknowledging that our church is built on land taken from those who called it home for thousands of years. The nearby villages of Tatonga and Atwatsanga were crossroads of culture and language for the Tongva, Tataviam, and Chumash peoples. This land remains a part of their enduring identity and heritage. We recognize that these tribes are still here, and we are committed to honoring their stories, culture, and community. Now, in the spirit of fellowship, let's take a moment to greet our neighbors. It's good to be together. Hopefully we can continue these conversations after the service during our coffee hour. Spirit of life, we turn our hearts and minds toward this time together and welcome peace and connection. Please rise in spirit or body for the lighting of our chalice and for the recitation of our covenant in both English and Spanish. Cesar had picked the chalice lighting words for today. This flame here is the same flame that rests within the stick, which is awakened when rubbed against another, and that flame is the same flame within us, which is awakened when we work with one another, which provides warmth to the world. And now our covenant. I don't know if you need to. Oh, there you go. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, thus do we covenant. La doctrina de esta iglesia es el amor. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento, y el servicio es su oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en libertad, servir a la humanidad en comunión. Este es nuestro pacto. And please continue to rise as we sing number 84 in the gray hymnal. The words will also be on the screen. How far can reach a smile? Let's be adventurous.
How far can reach a smile? How high a helping hand can lift? How far is far enough to give? Is there a way to learn just how a kindness speaks or where it goes? Should love be caught to hold? For God pours out his love in all that lives through God. We see that life can never cease to give. If we then think our small amount of help would not go far, and so don't give, would we still live?
Was an interesting one, huh? Still didn't quite get the rhythm on that one. We need to practice that. Well, welcome again. Welcome all of you to our service here online and in our sanctuary. Unitarian Universalists have many guiding principles and beliefs. We need not think alike to love alike. We are people of many beliefs and backgrounds, people with a religious background, people with none, people who believe in a God, people who don't, and people who let the mystery be. On the forefront of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer inclusion for more than 40 years, we are people of all sexual orientations and gender identities. We welcome you, your whole self, with all your truths and your doubts, your worries, and your hopes. If this is your first or second time visiting Emerson, then I extend to you a very special welcome and invite you to learn more about our guiding principles, which actually can be found in our gray hymnal, though they have updated them since then. I encourage you to get involved in things that we have to offer here at Emerson, like small group ministries, book and vegetarian dining clubs, which I believe, where's Tracy? Is she here? I know she's here somewhere. But anyway, I believe it is on February 5th. So if you're interested, ask around at the potluck. It's a really fun time to have lunch, a vegetarian lunch with everybody. So we hope to see you at some of these events. Today, I am so happy to introduce our guest speaker, Cesar Cardona. Cesar, I guess he said it can be either one, so you pick your flavor. He is a public speaker certified in mindfulness by Rice University, mentored by Rebecca Armstrong, a storyteller, and friend of Joseph Campbell, and shaped by teachings from Sri Lankan and Tibetan Buddhist monks. Cesar weaves timeless wisdom and personal insights to inspire resilience, inclusion, and meaningful connection in every audience. We welcome you, and we're so excited to hear your wisdom and your experiences.
Check, check. Can you hear me? Yep. Yes? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all for being here. I'm very honored that you spent your time here, opening up your ears and your hearts to me. Typically, there we are. There we go. Cool. Typically for me, as a public speaker and as a storyteller, one of my favorite stories is the story about the monk in the boat. It's a very quick story, but it says so much about, as Buddhists, who we are and how we can recognize the world that works within us. So there's this monk, and he wants to go and meditate on a boat in a lake. So he does so. He sits inside the boat. He puts his hands on his lap. He closes his eyes, and he proceeds to meditate. And then someone in their boat bumps into his. Now he's a monk, but he's still human, so it catches his attention, right? He resets, goes back to his meditation, counts his breath, and then again, this person in their boat bumps into his. So now they're testing his Buddhism. He resets again, takes a moment, keeps his hands at his lap, starts counting his breath again, and then a third time. This person has bumped their boat into his. Finally, he's no more a monk, he's just a human. So he whips his eyes open, he drops his hands, he whips his body around to tell off the person who bumped into him. Nobody's in the boat. The wake had just pushed a random boat into his. So the monk who told me this story says afterwards, whose anger was that really? There was no one else there in that boat. The monk learned a valuable lesson about watching the mind, and that no one out here in this world can give you anger. It's what's within here that you maintain. That's just one of my favorite stories, and I think about it often. I don't really get in boats and lakes, but I do drive on the 405, so I recognize that. Thank you.
Our Unitarian Universalist affirmation with hand signs, so you can just kind of follow along. We are Unitarian Universalists, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands. Emerson Unitarian Universalist encourages and challenges all who gather here to stretch ourselves to live with more gratitude and generosity of spirit. The world's faith traditions have had the goal of bringing us closer to a higher power through acts of compassion. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that generosity, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and its many ministries. This month, as part of our commitment to our UU value of generosity, we are sharing the offering plate. And I apologize, but I am not able to pronounce all of these words, okay? So I'm just going to say Tangva Conservancy. Okay, the other stuff, I don't think I would do it justice. So as part of our commitment to serve our community, we share half of our donations to a particular organization in our community. And this is the one that we've chosen for this month. So donations can be made at donate.emersonuuc.org or using the Breeze CHMS mobile app and selecting Sunday offering. And if you're writing a check, please make checks payable to Emerson UU Church or share the plate in the memo. And if you would like to make a payment on a pledge, just write pledge in the memo instead. Our offerings will now be gratefully received. Thank you.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Stop, look, and listen, baby. That's my philosophy. Yes, it is now. It's called rubbernecking, baby, and that's all right with me. All right, so yeah, that was the first Elvis Presley song I ever heard. And it was because I had it on 45, on a 45. It's called rubbernecking. So, yeah, I had no idea what the heck rubbernecking was. But my mom said that when you see a car wreck, people slow down by gawking and rubbernecking. And that is what we spend a great deal of time doing these days. But rather than craning our necks to get a glimpse of a roadside horror show, we're tilting our necks to doom scroll through social media 24/7, right, on the news programming. Except it isn't a slow crawl past the train wreck. We can watch more and more for as long as we want. The average time spent rubbernecking on our phones is 2 hours and 14 minutes every day here in the United States. And I'm guilty of it too. It's an easy rabbit hole to slide into: mass deportation, Project 2025, doing away with reproductive resources online, executive orders taking us out of climate treaties, doing away with diversity, equity, Women's History Month. I could go on and on. You get it. It feels like a Pandora's box has been opened with all the evils coming upon us all. But I recently learned that Pandora closed the box. Well, actually, it was a jar. In time to leave one evil to remain. Does anyone remember what it was? Hope. Hope. What? I was like, how is hope evil? Writer Julie Harris notes, inside we find a paradox. Hope as a guiding light in the darkest of times, and yet also a torturous noose that binds us to expectations, to dreams of better times. Renowned philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer believed that hope makes us prone to disappointment when the longed-for outcomes don't materialize, but also noted that giving up hope can lead to despair. Now, I'm not a fan of John Mayer, really, but one of his songs, sorry, John Mayer, but one of his songs make me think of how hopeless many of my clients in my therapy practice have become. Mayer sings, "Now we see everything that's going wrong with the world and those who lead it. We just feel like we don't have the means to rise above and beat it. So we keep on waiting, waiting for the world to change. We keep waiting for the world to change. But like you, I don't want to watch this dumpster fire. I don't want to rubberneck while waiting for the world to change. But I'm also not quite sure what I can do other than donate money to the ACLU, Southern Poverty Law Center, Sierra Club, Amnesty International, sign petitions, follow the money, and only patronize businesses that share our UU values. Let's remember the famous Fred Rogers quote, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. That helps us to focus on the good people that are everywhere. In rabbinic teachings, a deeply ingrained belief is that when one witnesses injustice or negativity, one has the moral obligation to perform good deeds and promote positive change to make the world a better place. I love that. Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. So it seems like there's some work here to be done. Harris notes that we can transform hope from a passive dream offering illusion of comfort to an active catalyst for change, showing us we have power to shape our world, not merely dream about it. But this will take effort. Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. So, let us not rubberneck or passively wait for the world to change. We can envision our future and use hope as a change agent, pushing us to action, even if that challenges us to change ourselves. Now, let's take a moment to anchor. Uncross your legs, get comfortable, soften your gaze or close your eyes. Breathe in through your nose. Hold that breath for a moment and breathe out through your mouth. Relax the little muscles around your jaw, your eyes. Relax your shoulders. Feel your sit bones sinking into your chair. Feel the earth under your feet. Take another deep breath in through your nose. What are two things you can hear in this moment? What are you noticing? Breathe in and relax. Every one of us is a part of a web of life that connects us all. We are grateful for this connection as it strengthens us all. Each week we share our joys and concerns, and you can write them in the chat as well. We actually did not have any written joys or sorrows in the physical book of life. And I'm looking in the virtual book of life. And there is nothing there either. So we don't know if that's good news or bad news. Hopefully it's all good. It's all good. We're all feeling good. Everything is good, right? Okay. We'll say, though, that some sorrows are too painful for us to speak aloud or write them down. So if you are holding someone in your heart this morning and you want to send them healing energy, loving kindness, you can write their name in the chat, or you can call out their name after I ring the singing bowl. Kevin, Matthew, Mom, Ola, B, Reef. May the arms of this community hold us. May we be free from suffering. May we be at peace. May we be well. Now let us sing in our great hymnal, number 302, Children of the Human Race. Another stretch for us all. This is a new one. Trying new things.
Children of the human race, offspring of our Mother Earth, not alone in endless space has our planet given birth. Far across the cosmic skies, countless suns in glory blaze, and from untold planets rise endless canticles of praise. Should some sign of others reach this our lonely planet Earth, differences of form and speech must not hide our common worth. When at length our minds are free and the clouds of fear disperse, then at last we learn to be children of the universe.
It is me again. Hello, all. I want to reiterate again, thank you so much for listening with your ears and your hearts. Thank you for having me. This is my first time here, and I've met nothing but warm, friendly, open people. Thank you. I want to talk about the information era that we are entering. You know, when I think about all of the information we have today, our ability to sit here and connect, and also connect with people online, we use these devices to connect with people on the other side of the world if we want to. Now, we can share our information with their information of their life. We can connect and find out what we have in common. We can find out what our differences are and learn from that. And most importantly, with all of this information, we sought to gather it so we can separate ourselves from things lesser known. Since what we don't know scares us, all this information should make us all pretty happy right about now, right? Aren't we very thrilled? Yeah, same. You know, one of the first things I think about, and this thought occurs to me almost always when I think, how did we get here? And every single time I get a thought about a small acorn, a tiny acorn placed into the ground during the agricultural era. Somebody grew crops, they produced it, and they consumed it. In that moment, they were a prosumer, if I may. And then someone in another village saw what they were doing and said, hey, I have some stuff that I want to trade with you. And if you would trade me some of yours, we can do this every week. And then that maximized because someone else joined in. Until time came that they needed more people to help with growing and trading these crops. Until someone says, I have a better idea, let's put them all together and start at the beginning of a day and end at the end of the day. Better yet, let's share all of our information and take the tools that we've gathered and try to grow them into machines. Now, from that acorn of the agricultural era came the mighty oak of the industrial era, which puts us here in a time that we were able to maximize output and maximize product because each person specialized what they were doing. Until over time, those machines got more dynamic, and we learned how to make computers, hardware to software. And just like that mighty oak now births another acorn, this small acorn that holds all of the information of the oak in it, so does our phones hold the immeasurable amount of information that we could find. Still not happy, are we? It's very challenging in this day and age with this. But I will say, with all this information, there's a pivot that we can take. I'm reminded very often in my thoughts about this very precious story about a man who is a French pilgrim. And he lands on this village, decides to walk around for a bit, and he wants to get to know some of the people. He wants to gain some information about the land and how the people think. So he goes through the forest. He goes up a hill, goes down the hill, goes around the bend. And when he comes around a bend, he sees this wide open land that's been flattened by an endless amount of construction workers. toiling away into the ground. So he decides to go walk there. He goes to the first person he can see, and he says, "Excuse me, sir, how are you doing, and what are you doing?" This man has a shovel in his hand. He plops it down on the ground. He turns to our pilgrim, and he says, "I'm digging holes. I got calluses on my hands. My lower back is killing me. It's hot out here. I've been doing this for weeks, and I'll be doing it for weeks to come. So if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to my job. Thank you." Our pilgrim doesn't gather any knowledge or information from that, so he keeps walking. He comes upon another gentleman, and he says, "Excuse me, sir, how are you doing, and what are you doing?" This man has a bucket in his hand. He plops that bucket down, and he says, "I'm filling holes with cement. I got calluses on my hands. My lower back is killing me. It is hot as the dickens out here. I've been doing this for weeks. I'll be doing it for weeks to come. So if you don't mind, please, I'd like to get back to my job. Thank you." Rude, I know. Our pilgrim didn't live in a time of Yelp reviews, so he couldn't do anything about it. So he keeps walking. And then finally he comes upon another group of men, and he walks over to one. He says, "Excuse me, sir." And this time he's a little disgruntled about it. He says, "How are you? What are you doing?" This man is knee-deep inside this cement. And he's using one of those smoothers, a trowel, to smoothen out the cement as he backs up. He turns to our pilgrim and he says, "I'm doing okay, but can't you see? We're going to be building a cathedral." Our pilgrim met a man who took all of the information that we have and recognized the part that he participates in this, the work that is required between now and maybe the next 5 years, and then saw the cathedral that'll be there for hundreds of years. People will walk inside there. They'll be in awe of it. They'll take their children, and their children will take theirs, and so on and so forth. He took the totality of the information and applied himself, realizing the work that needs to be done. Now, of course, in today's day and age with information, you would ask me, well, what information do we have here that we can take as a benefit? Well, I'm glad you heard me ask me that question. Did you know that California's teens are behaving better? That's right. Violence, burglary, drugs, sex crimes, curfew, truancy has all gone down since 2008. Sources of the California Department of Justice. Did we see this on CNN? Yeah, me neither. Did you know world poverty is lower than you think? 70% of people said it increased. 18% said it stayed the same. 13% said it decreased. The 13% was right. Since 1996, it dropped from 30% to 10%. Did MSNBC report this? What about the other NBC? Did you know we have decommissioned 85% of the nuclear warheads? In 86, the peak of the time, we had just under 70,000. Today we have just a little over 9,000 warheads, nuclear warheads. I'm sure Fox News got this memo. I'm sure they plan on sharing it with us soon. Did you know a global effort to restore degraded and deforest lands is on track to succeed? The Bond Challenge has reforested the planet, which, by the way, reforestation and natural climate cleaning makes up about 37% of cleaning the air. The Bond Challenge is on track to hit their goal in 5 years. I didn't see this in the LA Times. I didn't see it in the New York Times or the Miami Herald or CBS or ABC or BMW or NFL or MLB, any of those 3-digit number things that we take all of our information from. And just to expedite this information for you all, life expectancy, investments in renewable energy, health spending, people living in a democracy, literacy, and electricity access have all gone up. And if I may, just to not give you a full disquisition of data, here's a couple more. Why haven't we been told this? Focus on the negative. If it bleeds, it leads. Agreed. We have all this information here available to us at every given moment. But instead, all we're being shown is what is divisive. No matter what side we stand on. I stand on the side all of you stand on. And when I take information in, if I feel angered or scared from what they're telling me, and that's the only emotion I feel, then I know they have a goal in mind. You know, if it bleeds, it leads, like you said. I also like the phrase, destruction is loud, progress is quiet. That one's not as catchy. I made that one up. But I will say it's very effective. This tree, for example, right out here, if it were to fall over and crash onto these cars, every one of us would hear it. We'd stand up and go look. We'd probably go outside and see if everything is all right. And at this moment right now, that tree is growing. No one says a thing. Progress is quiet. Destruction is loud. And with all of the information that we have from media, social media, our phones, so on and so forth, it goes on and on and on, recognizes that we are biologically attuned to being mindful of what is to worry out in the world. Our ancestors looked across the Serengeti and made sure that if a tiger or another tribe was worrisome, they made sure theirs was fine and safe, effective. Got us here because they survived. But now we live in an abundance of choice, yet we still live in a scarcity of mindset. I think a lot of it has to do with what they're showing us. But a lot of it also has to do with us making sure we are fully engaged. Because the threshold that was guarded by two very mighty threshold guardians, called the media, stood in front of us before we could walk through and says, let me just tell you what's in there so you don't waste your time. And only showed us the bad stuff. That means that everything they're saying is made to scare us or make us fearful and make us more divisive from people who don't think the way we think. I'm also not saying things aren't bad either. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's always a lot of work that needs to be done. What I'm saying is all of their information is not incorrect, but it is incomplete. And now we are in a freedom, we are in a liberty of our time to take this boon of information, not burden, and we can access it ourselves. We don't have to rely on that information anymore. Here's a few ways that we can do that, if you're asking how. One of the first ones I love is the B Corporation. This corporation has a framework of ways that a company can make a profit while still being fair to their employees, fair to the environment, and most importantly, in my opinion, holding their investors and their stakeholders accountable. If you're going to invest in our company, then we will make sure you do the same, you have the same morals that we do. B Corporation. From there, you can go to the website, any one of us, log in, or not log in, just put in a category, furniture, clothes, food, books, so on and so forth. And it'll give you a list of the companies that they've approved. What's more is that most companies will have a B Corporation logo on their product or at their brick and mortar or on their website. Now to zoom in a little bit more, the Los Angeles Department of Aging, since the pandemic, has a feature that helps the elderly with free food, car services, and assistance. When I look online, all I hear about is Holly weird this and Holly weird that. No one talks about this for the last 5 years, but it's available to us. When the fires happened, that week I did a lot of podcast interviews from people around the world, and when they found out that I was living in Los Angeles and I'm from LA, they said, "Is LA still there?" The news tell me that it's not. A little toasty here, right? And I still feel here. I think you all are here as well. What they also didn't talk about is the ability for all of us Angelinos to come together and work together. I went to my neighbors in my apartment complex and make sure they all were safe. And then it was blockage on my street, so I went out there to help to move traffic through. Not one time did I stop and turn to the people I was helping and say, "Excuse me, before I help you, are you a Republican or a Democrat?" Didn't even occur to me because I'm a human. And more so than that, unlike my ancestors, I am in a safe space now where I can realize that I am a conscious being having a human experience. So when I see every one of you, I'm seeing another version of myself and vice versa. And we live in a time now that we can be peaceful to each other and help each other out. This is Goods Unite Us. This is an app. You can download this app on your phone, and you can look up majority of the major companies, and it'll tell you where they put their dollars politically. Right, left, a bit of both, or not at all. And I mean any company. This is how you vote with your dollars. Instead of waiting every 2 years for midterms or 4 years for the actual election, we can vote with our dollars. We can give to people who actually care about what we're doing, who realize that it's people over profit. And we live in a society where we have the information now to do it, and we don't have to rely on the media anymore. If any of this stuff resonates with you, highly recommend. This QR code goes to my website. I send a newsletter out 2 to 3 times a month with data, source, good information, and ways that you can participate in finding out more of what we have in common rather than what divides us. Because even though the climate of political system has been divisive for a long time, there's still a capital D democracy in who we are. It may seem bleak, and it has seemed bleak multiple times before, but it's the capital D democracy that stands here because we can vote with our dollars. This is who we are. We live in a society of all this information, and now we stand here with the availability to it. The fact that I stand here is progress to begin with. I'm a Black and Spanish man from the South. My father is a New Yorker and a Republican. My mother is a Southerner and a Democrat. I got whole frictions working in here my whole life. And when I was 20, I was able to buy my first house in Florida. And I could drive to Los Angeles 3,000 miles away, never been here before, never met anybody, slept in my car. And 10 years later, I am now a self-employed person. This Black man couldn't do that 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago. 400 years ago, any traveling I would have did would have not been my choice. And I can do that now. So let us not forget the progress of the tree that grows at all times. Hold on to that. Recognize the power in us, the people. Every single day we can vote now with our dollars. Every single day. And every one of us can do this together. We don't have to wait on a president. We don't have to wait on some savior to change it. We've had conscious beings before who recognize that we actually are a consciousness and we're not just our physical body. And we have the message now. Terence McKenna says, once you get the message, hang the phone up. We have the message now. We don't need another conscious being, one individual. We are the conscious beings that can do this. And bit by bit, we can do that. So in closing, if I may say, every single day, Choose kindness to the next person next to you, no matter what they believe. And realize that your daily work, you have the freedom of information now to find this out. What works? The beautiful news that's happening in the world. And realizing your action, you, all of you, every single one of you, are building a cathedral. It's not just about the calluses on your hands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love that idea about the tree always growing. You know, that's a great way to, if there's nothing else, the tree is still growing around us. But I love all the ideas of positive things happening in this world. It's a nice reminder. So please rise in spirit or body for our last hymn. Again, another stretch, a new one for us all. This is fun and interesting, right? It's number 359 in the Great Hymnal, When We Are Gathered Here.
When we are gathered for a time of worship and of song, let none forget the joys and griefs that mark each path of life, and thus we reach for those who love. We reach for those who love. For youth shall pass and time is wise, and countless seasons turn. So day by day our years increase, until at last by life released our spirits shine like stars. Our spirits shine like stars.
We extinguish our chalice. As the days come and go, as the nights do, this fire burns and extinguishes too. The eternal light is within me and you. Those were words Cesar picked out. Now, if you'd like to touch elbows or hold the hands of someone next to you, I'm going to read the benediction that Cesar picked out. So these are words by John O'Donohue, who apparently is amazing, and we need to look him up. May there be kindness in your gaze when you look within. May you never place walls between the light and yourself. May you allow the wild beauty of the invisible world to gather you, mind you, and embrace you in belonging.
Thank you all for having me. And most importantly, please be kind to yourself.